What's good, fam? We really out here watching the OVO camp try to spin a generational defeat into some kind of motivational speech. And honestly, it is getting a little bit embarrassing at this point. This is exactly what happens when you lose a battle so bad that your only move left is to go on a podcast and claim you actually won by losing. What's good, fam? Gordo really thought he was doing something special when he sat down for that interview on the Flow podcast back on March 11, 2026. The producer dedicated a massive amount of his time trying to persuade the entire world that Kendrick Lamar actually did Drake a favor by coming for his neck during that legendary 2024 battle. He insists the culture was fed a bunch of lies about the OVO leader, and now we are expected to accept that a beast has been unleashed because of the conflict. Listening to a producer act like getting cooked on a global stage is the equivalent of a superhero origin story for his boss is actually hilarious. There's a massive amount of coke coming from the producer, especially when he says the industry just woke up a F*** king beast they haven't seen in a long time. That just sounds like a whole lot of coke from someone who is on the payroll. Drake is currently happier than he has ever been, according to Gordo, and he claims the rapper is in a completely locked-in work mode to persuade the public the house is not on fire. Gordo spent a whole hour dismissing the public perception of the beef as false narratives, even though the fans saw exactly what happened when Kendrick delivered those receipts. Going on a national press tour just to tell people you are happy and unbothered usually means you are not as relaxed as you want everyone to think. The cultural shift toward Kendrick did not represent a temporary trend, and no amount of podcast damage control from Gordo is going to change the fact that the OVO brand took a massive hit. We can see that this aggressive talk from the producer is clearly tied to the upcoming release of Drake's 9th studio album titled Iceman. Since the middle of 2024, Drake has been playing a very specific long game by using these cryptic episodes on social media to build up a completely new persona for himself. He is essentially trying to act like the Kendrick beef never even happened, or he wants us to believe it was simply fuel for a new creative fire that is going to burn the industry down. Track snippets like What Did I Miss and Die Trying are being hyped by Gordo, like they are the ultimate proof of this new beast energy. Fans started doing the absolute most by looking for hidden clues in every single post, and they think they found the final puzzle piece in a 416 area code advertisement. Drake uploaded that advertisement to his Instagram on March 13th, and it has the internet convinced that the official release date for the project is April 17, 2026. The move shows just how much they are relying on nostalgia for Toronto and that old 416 energy to try and save this new project from being another massive miss. Moving as far away as possible from the massive shadow cast by the Not Like Us era is the goal of this very calculated and desperate Iceman rebrand. Image projection is clearly the goal here, as Drake tries to stay cool and detached while the pressure starts to crack the surface of this brand. Gordo is out here trying to frame this as a new chapter of dominance. It really looks like they are just trying to find a way to make people forget about the time Kendrick took the crown for good. Gordo was way more than just a random voice in the room, so we definitely have to look at his defense of the boy with a side eye. This man is deep in the trenches of the creative foundation for everything Drake has been putting out lately, especially that Honestly Nevermind album from 2022. Gordo acted as the mastermind for almost half of that whole project, and he was the one who gave us tracks like Sticky and Before We Move On, and see how Gordo is the mastermind behind where the whole OVO brand is heading. Tell me if y'all think he is keeping it real, or if he's just a glorified yes man protecting his bag. Tell me in the comments, no cap. While you at it, hit that like and subscribe button. Let's get back to it. D Massive to push Drake into a new lane, that was a polarizing time for the fans, but it marked the start of this consultant role Gordo has been playing for the OVO leader ever since. He is not just making beats in a studio, because he helps Drake decide where the whole brand is heading next. This means he has a huge interest in making sure the ship does not look like it is sinking. He even featured the rapper on his 2024 album called Diamante for the track Sideways, proving their professional fates are locked together. When Gordo goes on the Flow podcast to defend his boss, he is basically protecting his own legacy since he looks bad if Drake looks bad. The whole interview felt like a transparent move to validate their success after the beef by pointing at the single Nokia and that joint tour with Party Next Door. Believing that those singles and the tour are proof the Kendrick battle did not leave a scratch is exactly what he wants us to do, but anyone with eyes can see the truth. West Coast fans see this defense as a desperate attempt to rewrite the history of the 2024 feud where Dot absolutely dominated the whole conversation. You cannot go on a press run later and tell the culture that a clear loss was actually a hidden win for the brand. That is not how competition works in this sport, and it is definitely not how hip-hop history gets written by the people who actually live it. It feels like Gordo is living in a bubble of delusion where he thinks he can speak a new reality into existence using words like beast energy. He is trying to hype up a rapper who spent the entire last year getting ridiculed on every single social media platform. This whole beast narrative falls apart when you look at the facts on the ground instead of just listening to the hype coming from the OVO camp. Gordo claims Drake is happy as *T and just chilling in his mansion, but the legal reality of his situation tells a completely different story. Drake is still caught up in some very messy legal drama, including that massive 117-page appeal over the dismissal of his Not Like Us lawsuits. Nobody files a document that long if they are relaxed and moving on with their life, which shows the battle with Kendrick is still living in his head rent-free. If he was truly unbothered, he would be focusing on the music instead of trying to sue his way out of a cultural defeat. The Iceman project looks like a very obvious attempt to chase a younger demographic since the older fans have mostly moved on to support Kendrick. When you see tracks featuring people like Central C on Which One or Yate on Doghouse, it looks like a desperate play for clout with kids who might not remember the battle. This is a classic move for a veteran artist who feels his grip on the culture starting to slip, and Gordo framing it as a beast awakening is just pure comedy. The reality is that the real beast in this situation is Kendrick Lamar, and the numbers are proving it to us every single day. Kendrick is out here passing legendary figures like Jay-Z for Grammy Records and sweeping every single award show with a clean sweep. That is what real dominance looks like in this game, and it does not require a producer to go on a podcast and explain it to the world. Kendrick does not need to do damage control because his music and his impact speak for themselves on a global level, while Drake is still trying to figure out his next move. The bottom line here is very simple, and it does not matter how many producers Drake sends out to do press for him. The beast that Gordo is talking about is still living in the massive shadow of the Not Like Us era, and it does not look like he is ever stepping out from under it. Before we move on and see how this Iceman rollout actually performs when it hits the streets, tell me your thoughts on these comments from Gordo. Tell me in the comments if Drake is really a beast in waiting, or if this is just more OVO damage control, no cap. While you are at it, like and subscribe. Let us continue.